Hey everybody, this is William Schimensky, Wolfpack CEO, coming direct from the Wolf Den Studios, and I am here today with a friend, colleague, and somebody that I really enjoy working with and collaborating with, Mr. Atif Fazil from GoFunnels. And I'll let Atif tell you a little bit about himself and what he does.
Hey William, it's there's no better way to spend a Sunday evening than being on a call with you.
I think some people may differ.
Do you remember what I told you once? Somehow I like you.
We're gonna figure that out. Maybe too many hits to the head at some point. I don't know, but there it is. So tell me about GoFunnels and how you got into it and in this business and what is GoFunnels?
Yeah, so GoFunnels is really our attempt to provide, I would say, CRM-centric solutions to companies. So I come from a startup background, and like most founders, my first startup failed. It failed for very simple reasons, simple principles that weren't followed. That, of course, hindsight is 2020 now. That had I followed would have really positioned me to avoid those failures. Simple things like testing product market fit before developing a product, as an example. And I wanted to put myself in a position of leverage after that failure, being how do I surround myself with as many problems as possible? That was basically
Then boy, there we go.
how do I surround myself with as many problems as possible so that I learned really early on that you can't sit down and wait for an idea to come to you. You need to expose yourself to as many variables as possible, and you'll stumble across really good ideas. You just need to farm problems, as they say. So, GoFunnels, well, I first started this journey with a company called Jaria, which is sort of this marketing and a technology development company, and it sort of pivoted into a sort of like a product incubator for some of my ideas. One other principle that I learned really early was the power of a good team, which I didn't necessarily have during my first startup. And so the idea for me was to aggregate a group of extremely talented people that sharpen their skills while providing a service for others so that when we have ideas that we want to work on, we have a production pipeline in place from idea to go to market. And GoFunnels was one of those first projects. Having provided certain services, I was exposed to a lot of people with CRM related issues. And so we started using tools like ClickFunnels, Go High Level, Keep, HubSpot, and we built quite a strength in the technology of marketing side. So whereas we started off doing marketing, I found us to be slightly weaker on our content creation and content strategic ability. But when it came to the technology of marketing and using marketing tools, when it comes to the CRM automations, leveraging data, we were quite competent. And so I doubled down on that, and that became GoFunnels. Long story short. It
No,
wasn't
that's
so short though. Sorry.
No, it's interesting because one of the things that you mentioned, product market fit, and it really is a great segue into what I wanted to talk to about today. And you really don't know, right? Until you get out there and sell that product, that service, whatever that widget is, you really don't know if you have something viable. And I've seen so many startups spend a ton of money in development before creating an MVP, going all in on an idea, never tested, never sold it, and really found themselves in a tough spot financially. If not, a lot of times these startup founders, it's not like they have unlimited capital that they can take a couple of hits and keep going. So that's really interesting because where we are today with the technology and AI,
Yeah. It's insane.
it is insanity because I've been doing marketing for quite some time. I know I only look about 22 years old, but the reality is that I've been around a little bit and working in traditional marketing agencies, right? Brick and mortar, where you had the entire team there around a full table. And I remember for us to create a campaign, for us to do anything, would require literally weeks, if not
You're moving
months,
mountains.
planning, and you really don't know what the message is. You don't know if that message is right. You're trying to use all the best practices and whatnot. Well, this weekend, I like taking things to really the extreme. I like to really test things to their brink. And so what I did is I got access to Manus. I got access to Manus, and I am simply blown away what I was able to
Fill me
accomplish.
in. What's Manus?
So Manus is one of the newest models that is supposed to be this autonomous type of agent.
Okay.
Manus has the ability to actually complete the task. So here I'm gonna actually share my screen with you and
Please.
walk you through my Manus journey, and I'll tell you what I got out of it first so you understand. Let me show you the prompt that I started with.
Please.
Let me share my screen.
I think we're figuring out slowly why I somehow like you, because I love learning new things, and I feel like when I'm on a call with you, there's always something new that gets dropped. One nugget to take away.
There we go. Can you see my screen now?
I can see a screen.
So this is Manus. This is the back end of Manus, and I got access because it's by invite only right now, which I can give you and Mike an invite because I got two invites to give away. So I
Beautiful.
started with, hey, I need a new website. Back over here to number one, share. So I started off with my website, and my website is to me. It's all about me, and
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of razzle dazzle. And I don't know that it ever said what I wanted to say because, like a lot of entrepreneurs, we started with one product in mind, one service in mind, and that slowly, with iterations, it starts to change, and you don't update the website as you should. And I don't have a full website here, really. I,
And
I have a
to add to that, William, I always find that when you start, like when you get your, like I've been trying to update my website for the last 3 years, and I've never gotten around to doing it. It's always customer first, right? When customers come into the picture, it's it's a lot harder a lift to start working on your own internal things than it is for customers. And so yeah, I feel that.
yeah, the housekeeper will never, clean their own house, whatever
There
that
you
is.
go.
And so, and I was in the same, I know what I want to say, but for me to get what I would need, I would have to first sit down, probably with a copywriter, to get my thoughts out, my ideas, what I'm trying to say. Then what would have to happen is whatever they're going to put together has to be based on some kind of fact, some kind of research, something solid, not just I want it to say this.
Yes, it has to
So
represent you, represent your
absolutely.
voice.
And what that voice is, because interesting enough, I think you've pointed it out with me and a lot of my friends and family who get to know me. I'm a consultant at heart. You don't call me just for my meatloaf recipe. You're going to get an earful of how many businesses we're probably going to start and how we're going to do it in that phone call. So I went over to Manus, and as you can see, again, do you qualify? This is just a form. My episodes. Oh, that's not even right. Yeah, there it is. And a blog that goes to the blog. Nothing special. So I went to Manus and I said, Manus, I need to create a new website for Wolfpack CEO. I gave him a little bit about myself that I copied from the website. I said, here's my LinkedIn profile.
Mm-hmm.
I like content creators like Sabrina Ramanov and Stephen Pope. These guys are
Mm-hmm.
following them for a long time. And I said, not only do I want you to do market research, I want you to do a full competitor research. I want you to create a business plan. I went nuts on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I went absolutely. Now, you can see it. What happens is over here on this window, it opens up a new browser and you're watching it and it's doing research on articles and NPR and this and capturing, and it does a to-do list. And what's really cool is that as I'm getting ideas, I had to give it my password, so I'm going to go real quick there. As I'm getting ideas, it actually encourages you to type. It's not like ChatGPT where you send the message and you have to wait or stop the prompt to give it a new message. This you can continue, just like if I was talking to you, hey, Atif, by the way, add a button over here, Atif. Yeah, by the way, why are you doing that, right? It's a natural type of experience. So what happens is after doing all this research, I want you to see what it came up with. The first thing is it gave me the market research, not only market research, it gave me a lead magnet, like the quiz funnels, you know, those quiz funnels.
Absolutely.
So it gave me the quiz funnel. It gave me the scoring system. It gave me the blueprint and audit process. So everybody knows Wolfpack CEO, what we do in Wolfpack CEO is based on the BAD method, right? Blueprint, automate, and delegate. But what does
Hmm.
that really mean? Well, Manus broke that down. Manus broke it down where, let me come back over here. It tells you what the step by step is, everything that you need to do to achieve that first phase, including timeline, including tools that you're going to use, everything that I would need to execute on this phase. And it did this phase by phase by phase. But hold on, it gets better. It gets nuts over here.
You know why this resonates so heavily with me? I was just speaking to my team the other day, and I know I mentioned this to you, but I think it'll benefit your viewers to know this. I implemented a company policy 2 weeks ago that it is part of everyone's job description to be on X. Now, say what you want about X. I believe that the value drops on X far exceed anything on any other platform. LinkedIn, as an example. I believe just the amount of value people are dropping freely in terms of the processes of how they do things far exceed any other platform. And I've told my team that they have a minimum quota of retweets a day and tweets a day. The number one reason I've done this is because they can be exposed to processes. And the reason I say this is execution is now no longer a problem.
That's
No
right.
one needs to execute, but the processes that you implement are now what people are going to buy. What is the methodology, the process that you're going to implement that will get me the best results possible? Basically, what is the prompt that you're using, right?
I
What is
love
the
that.
prompt and the series of prompts that you implement? That is the commodity you need to invest in now, because processes will separate effective outcomes from ineffective outcomes and no longer execution.
You're right, because I don't need my designer, my web developer, or
Correct.
even coder anymore. So here we go. It gives me the market analysis. What an amazing market analysis it gave. It really provided. It gave me who my competitors are. It really gave me every. Now there's a lot of tools that do this, but when you're watching it actually do the research and coming up with everything that you need in your target audience, in your messaging, how you should position yourself, who your profile is mid-market. So we talked about who my market should be, and it is that mid-market 20 million to 500 million that have these serious pain points, right? These inefficiencies within their processes, and they experience tremendous pressure or not getting the return on their investment. So I'm not going to go through all these, but this gave me my entire business plan, my target audience, my messaging, what services I'm going to offer, even blueprint, automate, delegate. It gives me the process transformation, custom AI solution development, AI implementation, integration, flexible. So it gave me everything. Now, based on this, I want you to see it built me a website, coded a website in front of me. So this is the before, me,
Mm-hmm,
all
mm-hmm.
about me. And this is what it came up with. Look at this thing, measurable outcomes, not empty promises. I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's something missing here, I think, that goes in there. But look at this, case studies. Let's go to the about. So it's not like a lot of these web builders, these AI web builders, they'll build the first page for you, kind of. No, this did the whole thing. Look at this.
Is that picture AI generated
Which one? Mine?
on the about? Yeah.
No, no, that is my image. It
Okay.
took it.
Okay.
It found it on the web.
Wow. Okay.
So it gave me my services. I've never been so clear on my services until this experience. I
Yeah.
know what I offer, but not that it was packaged up in such a manner that I have four products that I'm offering, and it is right in line with my best and highest use, which is the vision, which is the implementation, working with you and creating these amazing AI solutions, and then even the engagement models. Look, this is wonderful. Case studies. Look at this.
It's incredible.
I mean, come on, man. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Hold on. Free audit. What you're going to receive. Compare. Look at this.
That is incredible.
Okay. Now, is it perfect? There's a few things I got to do with the hover. You see the
Close to a
hover.
complete product.
What's up?
It's close to a complete product here. Yeah.
I'm going to have my designer work on this maybe 30 minutes just to do a couple of things, and I'm done. And to be honest with you, I could probably do it myself because it gives it to you in HTML code packaged up, and it gives you instructions. It was trying to install it for me on WordPress. However, WordPress has that verification checkbox, and it couldn't get through that. So it says it actually gives me control of its own browser. It's the wildest thing. It says take control of my browser so you can check it off. And I was able to check it off, but something is like refreshing. So if I was able to let it check in, it would have taken these files and actually installed it and deployed it onto WordPress. Is this
That is
amazing?
incredible. That is incredible.
What I got from it, the research, the business plan, market audience, and a website, how long do you think that would have taken traditionally?
Months?
Easily?
Easily. How long did it take you? 1 weekend?
I got the market research and the first part of the website probably in about 4 hours.
That's incredible.
4 hours just, and it was conversation. Here, look at this. Here, this is what I wanted. And it's just, and it's understand. So it doesn't, a lot of these GPTs, they ask a lot of questions, which is good.
Yes.
But this one really, it tries to find a lot of the answers first. And so you'll have a lot of the back and forth. I mean, amazing experience, but we didn't stop there. Come on, Atif. That would have been elementary work. You would have been disappointed with me if I stopped there.
You're going to blow me away now?
Now I'm going to blow you away. If this didn't blow you away, now I'm going to blow you away. What I decided to do is, you and I have been working and, on Smith OS, creating on N8N, creating all things, and those still play, right? But all of those AI agents or MCPs now, they all need to be prompted, they need to be trained. And a lot of the times the prompting that happens is a generic. It's more of, I'm a fill in your company here, and my industry is fill in your company here,
Yeah.
and that. So I said, Mr. Manus, sir, Mr. Manus agent, sir, I want to create an entire team
Mm-hmm.
AI agents. I want to create an entire team of AI agents. And by golly, by George, that's exactly what we started doing. So let me see, where is it? Let me come back over here. And so what we've done now is from CEO, CIO, I said, what roles would we need from A to Z? What would be those roles in a traditional company to create this brand, to create the revenues that we're looking at? And it gave us specialized, highly prompted, not only the instructions, but it gives you the knowledge base that goes with it,
That is
specifically
insane.
trained to Wolfpack CEO. So everything is customized specifically to Wolfpack CEO based on the market research, based on everything that it's learned from the internet. It has provided everything that we need. Let me come back to one of these so you can see these. Facebook content specialist. Let me over here. Look at this. It gives you the deliverables guides, how everything should look, what sizes, the example, everything that you need to train that GPT along with the knowledge base. This is not for the weak hearted. This is not for the faint. These prompts, okay? Look at this bad boy. Now, so what I did, I then went to GPT and created my custom GPTs for Wolfpack CEO. Now, I do have a batch that are generic,
Yeah,
very good. The reason for that is people don't realize. Do you know how much people are making by selling their GPTs on
I don't
ChatGPT?
actually. I haven't really looked into that.
People are making tons of money by wrapping GPT. Exactly what I just did. Turn around and put these on the marketplace and sell access to them for whatever, $5 a month, $10 a month, $50, whatever it is, depending what it is. You don't think somebody would purchase a GPT that's been customized to provide this level? It's happening every day. But so far in one weekend, okay, give it 8 to 10 hours probably total. I was able to rebrand the website, get new copy, get a brand new website, get market research, business plan, messaging, create all the different specialized custom agents. In one weekend, I created my business. In one weekend, and I'm not just saying created my business that I woke up one day and went and bought a business card and called it,
Yeah,
I'm talking about legitimately, here's a framework, here's the blueprints. I know what I have to do tomorrow. I know exactly what I have to do tomorrow because of what was created here.
it is insane. We're not far away from AI being the CEO of these companies too. I think it's the moment they integrate it into real-time data, the moment, like you said, with MCPs, they can tap into everything, your Stripe, they can tap into your QuickBooks, but they can tap into your time tracking software, your HR software. I mean, at that point, they should be running the show.
And that's what we're doing. As a matter of fact, that's why I wanted to get these agents built out, because now we take it to the next level and we start creating these automations with an MCP that can draw from the knowledge base. It can connect to the GPT that we've already trained. So it gets more powerful and more powerful every single day, and it's just amazing where we see this technology going. Now, it's a little bit scary.
It is.
I mean,
There's no doubt about that. I think I've personally defined an entrepreneur as someone who creates jobs. For me, that's my definition of being an entrepreneur. Otherwise, sure, you're a business owner, you might be rich, but I don't think you're an entrepreneur if your primary objective is not to put other people to work. So there is a conflict, right, between leveraging AI and the trade-off between the human potential. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
I don't believe that AI, not anytime soon. I think it's going to be possible, and when I say soon, maybe the next 6 months to a year, because that's how fast technology is
Oh yeah,
moving. What I think is that AI should be meant to be used, and it's leaning to be used as a co-pilot, not necessarily something that you just give control to, but as a co-pilot. So, for instance, we have an AI LinkedIn agent. We were working with a Fortune 500 transportation logistics company, and they have between 50 to 60 business development reps at any point in time. And part of their process is prospecting on LinkedIn. They're searching for those titles, for those companies with the minimum revenues, whatever those specific filters are for their avatar. They have to spend tons of hours every week prospecting, looking for them, engaging with them. Well, with our AI LinkedIn agent, it does that for us. It automatically looks for our ICP. It starts engaging with them, liking their posts, following them, inviting them to connect, having the conversations to qualify them. And then Once they're qualified, now you come into the scene. Now you're able to take it and work with a much higher quality of valuable prospect because it's been qualified. So, is it gonna put some folks out of work? Yes. And those folks are the ones that didn't adopt. That's always the first one, the
Will be
adoption.
replaced by its masters, and so your job is to become its master.
Amen.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Those are the ones, if you don't learn it, and it's not, I went to Full Sail University to learn website development and
Mm-hmm.
design. I can't build you a website. I can barely use Photoshop. I just needed to know what the terminology was. I needed to understand what this entailed before I jumped into it, right? And so with this, it's that's exactly where we are. The folks that understand the conversation and
400%.
can guide companies, can guide the layman, because this is scary stuff. Every single day, there's a new shiny object. There's a new
Yeah.
AI. There's a new thing. How do
Yeah.
you keep this?
And 2 points on that. I think we've spent the weekend in a very similar way. And, I've been on Replit this whole weekend, just quickly executing on a few very specific ideas. And I've actually just been surfing some Facebook groups and forums to farm the things people are complaining about and find
What
opportunities.
am I asking? What is Replit?
So you've never heard of Replit?
I have, but let the audience know
Right.
what Replit.
So Replit is, I'm trying to figure out how to define it because the founder definitely doesn't want it to be defined like the other companies out there. It's
No,
a, to me, I'll tell you what Replit is to me. It's a fully hosted cloud infrastructure that allows you to build applications and deploy them purely through a language model, right?
it can
So
speak directions to it. Say, hey, I want you to create this type of application. Put these buttons on it. I want it to do this, and it builds it.
simply, in a simple way, yes. You describe to it what you want. It's going to build it. It's going to integrate it into the actual backend infrastructure that's necessary, whether that's an SQL database, whether that's pulling in libraries that are third party or open source libraries into the application. And it'll actually allow you to scale and deploy the product onto a cloud server. So there are other platforms out there. I was quite impressed. So Lovable, our competitor. In my opinion, there isn't a comparison right now. I think Replit is far and away beyond in terms of its capabilities, and just the fact that everything is sort of self-hosted. With Lovable, you have to integrate Supabase, which I find quite inconvenient.
Yeah,
I was very impressed that Lovable claimed to have raised enough money to acquire Figma. So when we talk about these companies scaling, like this is new age gold rush. Like this is insane.
yeah.
So when I coming back to the idea of product market fit, the fact that you can now so quickly iterate on a product and get an MVP out there, there's literally no excuse anymore. There's no excuse. And like you said, knowing how these systems work is extremely important. If you were a designer to start using an AI agent to start programming applications, there's going to be still a huge learning curve. The AI isn't going to walk you through the park and do everything for you. I don't know, Manus might, based on what you showed me, but you still need to know where potential flaws occur within the system. So, over the weekend, it's not 100% perfect. You still need to know if there is a consistently recurring issue. You have to play a part in trying to diagnose what is resulting in that issue. And if you don't understand programming and you don't understand dependencies and things like that, then you're not going to be able to help the agent find that problem, right? And also when you're defining the actual product design, so I come from a product owner background, right? Like when you build the first startup, the primary thing you are as a product owner. And so being able to just make sure the product is going in the right direction, that you're solving the biggest problems first and then building on top of those solutions is also extremely important. So the approach will be greatly influenced by your background. And in a weird way, you are giving it part of yourself, right? The moment I think Replit's founder said this, over time, their agent is learning from its mistakes. So the more you help it, the less you're going to need to help it over a longer period of time. So there is still the short-term opportunity of being able to fill in that space and be quick. provided you have the attitude of wanting to learn. But then also in the long term, there is going to be a point where at some point it's not going to need your help to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that, that's why we came up with the bad method. Blueprint, automate, and delegate, to have a very specific process. And that first step is what a lot of business owners don't take the time to do. I've sat with even Fortune 500 companies and asked them, okay, show me your process flow, show me how data flows, show me your customer journey. And a lot of them have never charted it out, have never visually seen it. And it's really impressive to go through with them, because, oh, I didn't realize, and they can actually see their own traffic jams, if you will, with data or conflicts. And so we take a lot of time on that blueprint. As you and I, we've got into some big projects here, and having to blueprint every possible scenario is a massive undertaking, but it's like building a house. You wouldn't go and build a house without some kind of blueprint, where the rooms are going to go, where the door. But yet every day, a lot of business owners, that's what they kind of do. And
Yes.
then they get a window, and then, oh, you know what? Let me go get a faucet, but you don't even have the sink yet. Oh, let me go get. So then they're grabbing tools to do things, and they really don't know how to use these tools, or in any effective, cohesive way that makes sense. And then they get frustrated. Obviously, I would get frustrated also, and they give up on it. And when they give up on it, I remember when Facebook first came out. Yes, I remember. I was around for those Stone Ages, Atif. And my clients back then, how they resisted, because they didn't understand it, how they resisted. And the folks that decided, hey, I'm not going to learn it, it's a fad, they didn't make it. They didn't fare too well. So that's kind of where we're at with AI. That business owners, they know they need this in their business. They you know I think that ChatGPT and these models have given a false sense of security, that just anyone can do it. Yes,
Yes.
anyone can create some generic copy. Yes, anyone can get so far. But even with that, you still need somebody that understands how to communicate, how to train the AI, how to understand how these things work together. And I think that's where a lot of folks get lost and give up on it.
Yeah. I think one really interesting thing about AI is I think it's the closest thing to true omniscience that we have on Earth, right? Because everything is already known. Now, everything that is to be known is already known. Of course, true omniscience would be knowing the future too, which only God does. But AI is the closest thing we have to knowledge just being known and not having to be learned, right? And so I think one of the greatest applications is just, again, in terms of self-development and using it to help improve your own self-development. I also think that there'll be no moats anymore with regards to businesses and even AI products. I don't think there'll be any moats in the sense that you'll have 100 applications that do the exact same thing and do them just as well. Right. And so I think now more than ever, and just coming back to you putting out your site, I know that it was all about you, but I do think now more than ever, people need to make it about them, because people, at the end of the day, there's one principle about humans, which, coming from a marketing background, people want to work with people at the end of the day. Right. And I think we can safely bet on that. And so it's like, who am I working with? Who is educating me about this platform? Who is educating me about this particular process? Okay, he has an application. I want to use his application. And so the same way you'll walk down, I always think about this analogy. Have you ever been to Istanbul or any like old town street?
With some cobblestones and something like that.
Cobblestones, yeah. So when I was in Istanbul, something, and I know that you can drop 100 areas that are the exact same. You'll have 5 to 10 restaurants on the same street, literally side by side, all shaking the same clay pot, serving the exact same dish. Right?
Correct.
But they're
Yes.
all open for business every day. Right? Every bird finds its worm. Right? And so when you make that decision, it's like they're all serving the exact same thing. It's all a clay pot served chicken dish. but you pick the one on that day that you feel like using or eating from. Sorry, you pick the one that resonates with you. You like the vibe of. You maybe have heard good word about it from your social circle. So I think that's how products are going to be moving forward. There'll be plenty of products that do the exact same thing, but you will pick the one that your close social circle uses. Right? You'll pick the one that you resonate with the creators of, or the founders of, or the person who educated you on that area is using, as an example. I think we're sort of moving into products being more like a marketplace commodity. Like everyone sells apples.
Yeah, I agree. And that's actually what the market research that Manus conducted
Yeah,
was that, it's not necessarily about the tech itself, because there's a lot of competition, and whether it's mid-market or enterprise, it really comes down to what they're looking for in terms of the experience. At an enterprise level, you're probably not going to get the fluid communication. They're going to be much more structured. You're not going to get the attention that you need. When we're talking more of a boutique agency, and now you're getting that hand holding, you're getting that care, you're getting, so yeah, it resonates with what you're saying, that it's no longer just the tech, it's the experience, and the experience
experience,
is really
policy. Yeah,
brand that you're representing, right? I'm on the fence whether it needs to be a human or not. I always believe there needs to be a human, because otherwise it's just another whatever widget company, right? And so, but either way, it could be
I mean,
successful.
what else will humans do?
Yeah, yeah,
They got to do something. They might as well represent.
yeah. The brand development, I agree. That's why I've started to come out this year. I had been years since I was creating content for myself and just working with the other brands. And like you said, we take care of our customers first, and you kind of leave yourself as an option if you have time on a Sunday night for an hour to work on something. Uh, it's so much more important to get your brand out there, especially for anyone that's looking to provide AI services, automation, whatever that is. What people are looking for is a guide. They're looking for the person that understands the language, can translate, like what you said, it's a product owner, can translate the client's vision into that solution, into the technology the best way possible. I was, again, for one weekend, 8 to 10 hours, created a full new brand, custom GPT agents, marketing analysis. Tomorrow, I know exactly when I wake up what I got to do, because it gave me a plan. Blown away, man, blown away. And I did the Chat GPT deep research, and it did some great deep research as well. However, it didn't actually complete any of the tasks, like
Correct.
build that
Yeah,
or create that.
it's not
So
fully integrated. Yeah,
not fully yet, but they're coming. They're talking about, integrating with, who is it? Somebody's MCP. I forget who it is that they just came out with their MCP. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to see what's coming next. And again, like you said, now is easier than ever to start something. Now is easier than ever to test something. If you've had an idea, you can just go use tools like Replit, and just give it your idea and come up with your initial MVP. And it's easy. Get your friends and family to play with it and
hundred
see if it's
percent.
a problem. And I think that's the next step to, the best side hustle you can probably do right now is finding a problem, a simple problem. It could be, I don't want to, have to check my emails each and every day. So you create an automation that reads the email drafts, simple things that people are really monetizing. That's what
Yep.
ChatGPT has allowed.
Yeah, I've actually made a conscious. So this year, I brought on a few key executives into the company to essentially replace me. So, we've grown nicely over the last couple of years. I'll just name drop a few people we've worked with. I think it'll be nice to do that. Like we've worked with Alex Ramose's Gym Launch, Patrick Bet David's Valuetainment, Brian Tracy University. And so the GoFunnels brand is growing. And I brought on someone called Zamil. Zamil was a content strategist and I think he pinches himself every time he mentions these names, but he works as a content strategist for brands like WWE, Mattel, Disney, Lego, Marvel, Hasbro. And the idea is again, speaking to what you just mentioned, want to focus on productization. My role needs to be productization, which is what opportunities exist by virtue of the position we're in right? Everyone's a fly on the wall of some room. So, what conversations are you around? What problems are you farming? And how do you position yourself to productize those problems? And so that's where I'm sort of trying to transition into inside my company for that particular reason, just because of the ease of being able to deploy solutions.
And it makes sense because we're even me that I can come in here in the weekend and maybe knock something out. I don't necessarily have the bandwidth to do that. So finding a team that I can say, "Hey, Atif, this is what I'm looking to do, A, B, C," and having a team that can walk that through. Because what we found in working together, it's not necessarily knowing what to do, but knowing what questions to ask
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
client. Because a lot of times a client doesn't, they're trying to verbalize, they're trying to describe what a problem is, a bug, or what they want, and they can't. And we have to know how to probe and ask the right questions so we can understand what their goal is and how we
Yes,
can help them in achieving, right?
100%. And what their primary experiences are. Like a lot of customers have so much primary data on what's likely going to work. They're just either scared of it being a reality, like especially if what they want to work isn't going to work. Like that's one of the biggest problems you'll find is they insist on things that they have enough evidence to prove aren't going to work, but because they want it to work, they're not going to tell you.
Right, right.
I think asking the right questions is so important. Knowing what questions to ask is really important. I have a little bit of a cheat code I use when trying to prospect team members, which I think helps in this particular situation with regards to what questions to ask. I truly believe that in order to ask the right questions, you need to be a good learner, right? A good learner always knows what questions to ask. And how do you find a good learner? So I kind of reversed that equation. And I believe this has yet to be proven untrue, but oftentimes, I mean, you can't always, how do I say this? A good learner won't always be a good teacher, right? I'm yet to see a good teacher that isn't a good learner. So when I prospect people to work with me, I'm always thinking about how well are they teaching me about what they do? How well are they trying to help me understand a problem? The moment that I see that they're trying to teach me what they do and they're doing it extremely well, they're explaining concepts in a very simple way, I know automatically that they're going to be an excellent learner. And by virtue of that, they're going to have just a natural way of asking the right questions. Yeah, it's a bit of a hack I use.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, if you can explain it in such a way that you can guide the person and get them to verbalize or articulate exactly what it is that they want, the core issue or the core goal. A lot of times they give you a lot of the superficial, right?
Yes.
Like when I had the marketing agency, they would come to me. I want social media. No, you don't. What do you really want? You want customers. You want appointments, right? Social media, SEO. These are just tools and the arsenal that we use to get to the goal. But knowing what that true goal is, what the deliverable is, what the problem is, allows us to provide them that solution. So I agree. If they can teach, they're going to be a natural good learner. And you're right about a good learner not being a great teacher.
Yeah, it's not always the case, right? The one thing that I am a little bit concerned about, which I'm noticing myself falling into a little bit more over the last couple of weeks, is because so many possibilities exist for a mind like yours and mine. How do we develop focus right now? Because
Well,
but I'm like so many things I could do right now, and it's like, how do we develop focus? And because if everything's so easy to do, minds like ours are going to be all over the place.
well, you're right. The biggest challenge that I'm having now is because all these things I can see. Oh, wow, that would work great, or that would work great. But that's always been right. And the challenge with folks like you and I, I've taken all the tests, and I'm a high visionary. You know,
Mm,
these are big things that you have to understand. What you're. I'm not a CEO.
okay,
Found, I
very
found
interesting.
I'm a founder,
Hmm.
but I'm not a CEO.
That's very powerful that you're able to say that. Very powerful.
I'm not
Yeah.
CEO material. What I
I
am.
wonder how many people need to tell themselves that.
Well, a lot of people are running a business without a actual program, without a kind of. So what we use EOS and Entrepreneur Organization System, and it's very specific. And one of the big things about EOS is right person in the right seat.
Mm,
It's when we do our org chart, it's not Mary is the customer service, right? It's none of that. It's none of that. It is, what is the role? What are the requirements of that role? Right? What are the deliverables on that role? And that's it. That's it. And EOS works that way. And what I found very early on, was that I am not a CEO. I can play CEO on TV, but where my highest in value is that I am a visionary. I am the person that can make those relationships. I can go ahead and get those big deals. I can come up with the ideas and the how, and even set the tone and set. But the CEO, when you really look at that specific role, and that's what, you know what it is. A lot of people have never taken. I took the Colby test. It's Colby, Kolby, and it asks you a series of questions. It's unbelievable what it tells you about your
Make
work.
sure to drop your affiliate link down, by the way.
I wish I had a good like free test.
Because I'm gonna do it right after this.
It's actually a free test. It's actually,
Got you. Okay.
yeah. So it's called the Colby systems, Kolbe, and it gives you a score. It gives you a number, -7562.
Mm-hmm.
And that score, when you look at the chart, if you're an operator or a visionary, mine is high right all the way. So what that says is I excel by working in a certain way. So if you're going to take me and put me in another role, it's not that I can't. Of course I can. But it is that the best in high. So that's where we're looking at that. You have to know, just because you're the founder, you're the one who, yes, initially you're everything. You don't even, you're every role in the business. But as you're growing the team, you have to know what you know, and you have to know what you don't know. You have to know what you're good at.
Yep.
Listen, I have been looking for a CEO replacement for the last couple of years for
Yep.
for my business.
Yep.
Hands down, first thing I want to do is get my CEO. Not that I don't want to be in the business,
Yep.
but I know that where I would be best is not in that.
And that level of clarity is very it's very important. Do you mind if I take a philosophical twist to this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think technology is an expression of our intellect, correct? I mean, it's an expression of the knowledge we have and have accrued over time. I do think to a certain extent I've been able to find a better understanding about how we think and how we work by evaluating the technology that we build. The technology we build has kind of helped me sort of understand how to best implement my own thought processes too, in a weird way. So I'll give you one example. Okay, I have a Bitcoin example, or a blockchain example, but it's not the right time for that. But the example I'll give you right now is with regards to clarity and truth. So we often want to start from truth and extrapolate outward. So, like when we want to seek clarity, we want to start from the answer, usually, like what is the truth? And then, testing that truth against all your, whether it's cognitive dissonance or whatever else you have that truth exposed to. If you think about how AI works, right, with image generation models, video generation, stable diffusion, right? It's you start with noise and then you eliminate the noise. You eliminate the noise until a picture is formed. And I think that kind of is something philosophically a lot of people should implement, which is when you want to find the picture, you got to start with noise. Expose yourself to as much noise as possible, and over time, you will start filtering out that noise. Failures filter out noise better than anything else.
And after you get over the crying and that noise of crying, all that, it gets very clear. That's powerful. Yeah, that's definitely very impactful and powerful. Yeah, definitely. As humans, eliminating the noise is critical. However, I think that sometimes we got to intentionally put ourselves in that noise to understand. It's kind of, I've always been a proponent. Like, I believe that perfection is the enemy of progress, right? Especially in the beginning. You don't know what you don't know. It doesn't have to be perfect. We got to get out there and test quickly, and that's the only way to, and you don't know until you're in the thick of things. You don't know how your clients are going to react. What I thought my businesses were going to be when I started 15, 16 years ago and where we are today are two different things. Very different things. What I thought the audience, my audience was asking for, a lot of times I may have been in the same ballpark, but I wasn't on base at all. And so getting in there, get the concept, get a quick MVP, push it out there. Yes, people are going to cancel. They maybe even give you, whatever it is, but that's the only way you learn and you make it better from there. And at least you have a map of where you're going. That your audience is your map. Even with business plan, the business plan is giving you best case scenarios. Or there's a lot of different variables that come in play when we're talking about a plan. For me, the best plan has always been get it out there and listen. I've always been big on listening to my customers, and I'm quick to change. I pivot. I've come in, and I'm not saying that people do this. I'm not saying this is right. I don't say this with a sense of honor, but I've been known to come into the business and completely change the company name branding overnight, like this, like made a decision, and tomorrow we have a new website, brand, everything. And the reason I've done this, I forgot where I heard this from. A lot of people are afraid of change, even if it's causing them pain. They're losing money, they're not making money, things are not working out, but they rather sit in that pain because they don't know if this next route is going to work. You hear, if you give me a guarantee, I'll use your service. If you give me a guarantee, everybody wants a guarantee, and I get it. They've been bamboozled. They've been led astray because nobody told them the truth in the beginning that marketing isn't overnight. This doesn't happen overnight. You don't launch your business today and tomorrow you're filthy rich. This is going to take time. It's going to take a little pain. It's going to take a little dedication. People have not been told the truth about that, and so they come out with these expectations on what they've seen on YouTube and whatnot, and unfortunately, it's setting themselves up for failure. And then how many people can take failure and get back up again? And that's where this who's an entrepreneur, who's a wantrepreneur, you know, that's what it is. You got to take massive action. And where I was going with that is, I've always said, listen, I don't know if this is going to work, but what I do know for certain is that this isn't. I don't know that's not going to work, but I know this isn't working. So let's just pivot. And so we got to get over that fear of pivoting and move fast. I forget what podcast I was listening to. He says the reason, and it's a billionaire, I forget what it was. He says the reason I've been able to achieve the success is because I've moved so fast. By the time the industry caught up, I've already made three mistakes and found the fourth solution. And I love that. I live that every day. Try it, try it, try it, and we're gonna figure it out as long as we take action. So, anyways, man, this has been amazing, Atif. Talking to you and getting your thoughts, and I'm gonna have to get my dictionary out on the replay of this because you use a lot of fancy words that up definition. I I just grin and agree like I knew exactly what you're saying. I have to rewind this and go back. But I appreciate you being on, and I hope that we can do a lot more of these, and we're going to bring on other guests and have like a three-way podcast thing going, And any last thoughts for the people at home that think that the Terminator is coming to take over? Yeah, to add on to what you're saying, and I agree, focus. It's like don't say goodbye. We'll see you later. But to add on, you don't have to eat the whole buffet at once. Start small. Start with a small task that focus on your journey. And again, if you're looking to integrate, if you're looking to start something, start with a small thing. Automate your email. Automate small things, and as you knock out these small little AI automations, it's going to solve for that. It's going to give you back a little more time, but you're building confidence and you're understanding it and you're getting your hands on it. And those automations, you can resell those. A lot of people, tons of people are waiting. They don't want to have to build things from scratch, and you built an automation to do your point is start small, stay focused, as Active says. And again, take action. Take massive action is the last words I'm going to leave you with. Take massive action. don't be left behind. This is not the one that you can wait around and see what happens. The folks that wait around to see what happens are going to see their competitors' backs as they fly by them. So get over the fear. There's nothing to be scared of. You can't really break anything nowadays that you can't fix. So get in there, take massive action, and I think that's where we'll all see results. Well, thank you, Atif, again for being on here. Hopefully, we can do this again.